let's do a wrap up of all the books that I've read in May. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing amazing. So for today's video, we are going to be going through all the books that I've read in May and whether I would recommend them to you. So from the top of my head, I believe I read 5 books. I think 4 was from my monthly TBR and 1 was from my NetGalley account, so an ER. So I'm going to take that because I've done much better than my last couple of months with my monthly TBR. But before we roll on to the books, I just want to say I'm so sorry because I did actually miss an upload last week. I recently come back from holiday and I definitely think it is the plane journeys, but I was really ill. really ill. I had to take a sick day off work and then I had to work from home for the rest of the days. I'm guaranteed it's a flight. I think the next time I go on a long haul flight, I think I'm going to wear a mask because if you think about it, it's just everyone's dirty air and breath, you know, you're just recirculating what you're breathing in. But every time I come back from a long haul flight, I always get ill. So I'm so sorry, I just did not have any energy whatsoever to film. But here we are, new week, and with our May reads. Another little tidbit, I'm sorry, but if you do find yourself enjoying this video, it would mean so much to me if you could give it a like or even subscribe if you fancy, or even just writing a little comment down below. It really helps me out and I would just really appreciate it. I also just want new buddies to talk to about books. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about books all the time? So the first book I read in May was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. And I gave this one, I believe, 4.5 stars. I'm pretty sure I rate this 4.5 stars. I've just looked at my Goodreads because I always normally go back onto my Goodreads to kind of circulate my thoughts again, and I realise I've not actually done a review for this. And when I have half ratings, I normally put that half rating in the review, but obviously I didn't do that for this one. I think it was directly before I went on holiday, so I just didn't have time. So we're going to stick with a 4.5 for this. So I'm not going to talk about this a whole lot because I did actually do a reading vlog earlier in the month of May. So if you do want to know my kind of in-depth thoughts, then please do give that a watch. But overall, I devoured this. I loved it so much. So I did do this as a part, obviously, physical, part audio, and sometimes I even done a little bit of an immersive read, which I really enjoyed. I believe I listened to it on Spotify. So not audible, not the dramatic version. Now with this one, I just felt like there was so much more going on. There was so much more action. I just felt like I couldn't put it down because I just wanted to know what was happening on the next page. I know there is a lot of discourse about what book is the favourite in this series, and a lot of the times it's either the second book, A Court of... I forgot. A Court of Mist and Fury. I did just have to have a little sneak peek right there. A lot of people say A Court of Mist and Fury is their favourite, and then a lot of people say Wings and Ruin. But also, there's been a fair few people saying Court of Silver Flames is their favourite as well. Now, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know if I preferred... I think I did, if I'm being absolutely true to you. I think I did prefer this book, but nothing felt to me how chapter 57 did in Mist and Fury. So I think that's what's playing on my mind because I didn't have that like proper, you know, when you just have that moment and everything sinks in and you know you've just read a chapter that will like just be ingrained in your head forever. I didn't get that with this book, but the fact that it was just so literally bam, 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 bam all the time, I loved it. Obviously, I'm not going to give a plot synopsis just because it's the third in the series and we are just carrying on where we've left off in the second book. But also, what I will say is I do remember little bits of this book, but I feel like I'm not remembering a lot, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's because I read it for the vlog and I was in a time crunch, which I actually don't think I'm going to do that again. If I am under a time crunch to get a vlog out or a video out, I think I'm just not going to upload it because I do think it hindered me a little bit because I was trying to rush to get through it so I can edit the vlog and whatnot, and I don't think I fully appreciated the words inside, which is totally on me. I shouldn't have rushed things, and that's absolutely fine. But I know as I was reading it, I was absolutely hooked. Actually, the more I'm thinking about it in my head, but obviously I can't say because I don't want to give spoilers, but the more I think about it, more things are coming back to me. I am just like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened and I can't believe that happened. I'm so sorry. I feel like this is a bit of an incoherent review, but it's just hard when I can't give much of the plot away, but overall absolutely would recommend. I love the characters in here as well, whether they're villains or, you know, the heroes. I just feel like everyone they have a story, and I just love reading all of their stories meshed together as well. So it's definitely one I'd recommend. I recommend the series as a whole at the moment, and I know a lot of people might not want to read this, because I was one of them, to be fair. Because of the hype, I did not want to read this series, but I'm so glad that I've kind of, you know, bit the bullet, done it, and I'm just having such a wow of a time. Obviously, I haven't said too much on this one, so if you do want more of my in-depth thoughts while I was reading, I do have a spoilers vlog up on the channel. So the next book I read was actually while I was on holiday, and that was The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce, and I rated this one 4.25 stars. I thought I was going to like this, but I was actually surprised by how much I enjoyed this. But this is kind of a second chance friends to lovers romance, which ticks everything in my boxes. I love a friends to lover. I love a second chance. I know, very controversial, but it floats my boat. So for this one, we've got Georgia and we have got Eli, and they were obviously together for a very long time before they split. But only problem being, they were friends in, I believe, university or college time, and they were actually a threesome. So it was Georgia, Eli, and then there was another bloke, which I can't remember their name. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to refer to him as the best friend. So they were in kind of a group of three. So Eli and Georgia, they have now broke up, but the best friend is getting married. And of course, he wants his two best friends to be there and, you know, to support him and whatnot. Only problem is, the best friend, he has the worst luck ever. So turns out everything is going wrong in the planning of this wedding. So he calls on Georgia and Eli to basically get everything sorted out. So they have to work together to essentially put on the best wedding for their best friend. So of course they're in kind of really close proximity, and maybe sparks will fly again. So not only did I absolutely love the tropes in this book, I think our main characters were on the older side, and because of this, the resolutions or the dilemma, it just felt a little bit more grown up. I think in a lot of romance books at the moment that I've been reading, where it's kind of targeted towards maybe like early 20s, you know, that sort of age range, I just find dialogue, resolutions, the dilemma itself, third act breakup, a lot of the times, it's just so childish. And I think this is what Jessica Joyce done perfectly. And not only that, they kind of, I mean, this could technically be a spoiler, so feel free to just kind of go on 10-20 seconds. They did kind of give into their feelings at near enough the halfway point, and then we've got kind of a grown-up situation of how they're going to deal with this, you know, what went wrong previously, how they're going to fix it, you know, and it just felt so grown up. It was just, I think the thing is, it felt very believable. The problem why they broke up in the first place, again, very believable, can happen to any one of us in the real world. Again, you know, I appreciate it. It's not something so silly. They didn't ignore each other as such, you know, sometimes in books, and it's like one conversation could have made this book 20 pages and they could have just dealt with it. I just didn't feel like there was that problem in this book. Honestly, I ate it up. But the reason why it's not 5 stars is now I know the best friend is supposed to have bad luck, but it felt a little bit silly to me that literally everything was going wrong. Like everything, from down to the venue, from down to the food, from down to like even decorations, like the most tiniest things would go wrong for this wedding. And by the end of it, I was a bit like, okay, come on, let's speed this up now. Like it just, that bit did feel a little bit unbelievable. I mean, believe me, I get it. Things can go wrong with a wedding, but I just was like, everything. So that is the only kind of tidbit of why it was a 4.25, because in the end I was rolling my eyes just a little bit. But I absolutely will be buying another Jessica Joyce book if she has any out. I've not actually double checked, but this is the way that she wrote this book, the plot, everything. I loved it. So definitely kind of another must read author for me. And if I see her name on any other books, you betcha I'm absolutely buying it. So the next book I read was actually an e-arc, but it is in fact out now. It was released on the 21st of May, and that was Sleuths by Samantha Moody, and I gave this one 3.75 stars. So for this one, we've got Melody, and she runs a kind of fan edit account of one of the most biggest TV shows, kind of like Bridgerton-esque, I believe. And she heads it all up. She has loads of followers, like loads of traction. She's kind of top of the game as a fan account of this TV show. So one day she comes across, I think, a video or a picture, and it is of the male main character in this TV show. And Melody comes across this piece of media that shows him kissing an unknown woman. Now, obviously, as crazy fandoms do, people don't like it if, you know, a main character in a TV show or whatnot has a girlfriend, because, you know, parasocial relationships, you see. And it turns out that this woman that he's kissing is actually a missing person. So Melody, along with 2 other of her friends from this fan account, decided to basically see what's going on. Why is this man pictured with a missing woman? Who is this missing woman? And just basically solve this mystery. But not only that, this does have kind of a subplot of a romance as well. So it's kind of mixing mystery along with that romance genre. As I said, I rated this 3.75. I did actually enjoy this, but my main problem was the first half felt like a completely different story to the second half. I mean, I don't know how to explain it properly, but I think if anyone's read this book or is gonna read this book, I think they will understand. There was a lot of heavy topics in this book, which I quite appreciated. I do like heavy topics. I like grit. I do think it just adds a bit of backstory, a bit of emotion into books. That's just my preference. But I think because of this, the first half did feel definitely a lot lighter, but also the storyline just felt different from where we got to at the end of this book. So it is quite humorous as well. There are parts that are supposed to be funny, and it just didn't mesh well with the very, very serious topics that we were talking about. Again, like, it did make parts lighter, but then I'm like, did you want that to be so light when you're talking about such a heavy topic? I don't know, it just didn't really gel with me. So what I did enjoy about this book was kind of the deep dive into fandoms and parasocial relationships. I think we can all agree in this world today that's quite a serious issue, and I think the way it was told in this book, it was quite witty. And I think personally for me, I just love reading about fandoms, and I just find it very interesting how people can react to people that they don't know on the internet. Like, I'm sure we've all had that parasocial thought, but, you know, a lot of us take a step back and think, oh, actually, this is getting a bit too much. Like, even just as simple as like when Taylor Swift got engaged and got married and things like that, people, that parasocial relationship, they need to realise that these are real people with real lives. And that's what I liked about this book. Sorry, I feel like I went a bit deep there. The characters, I did feel like they were really great. I enjoyed, there was quite a few actually. I particularly enjoyed the friends of Melody. I thought they were great. Our male main character, not so great. I found him quite, I don't want to say plain, because he definitely wasn't plain, but not very memorable, and actually sometimes even a little bit arrogant. And I was a bit like, I don't know, I didn't really like him. But overall, I definitely had fun reading this book. I read this when I was on holiday again. I didn't feel like it was a chore reading it, and actually it made the queue times go so quick to the point where I didn't realise how long we were standing in the lines. So I would actually recommend this. I did enjoy it, but I think just maybe be aware that there are very heavy themes, because I think maybe the synopsis doesn't fully show that, and also maybe what you think you're getting in the story, it might not be what the outcome is. I just feel like it was great, but I needed one extra thing to mesh it all together, and I don't know what that thing is. I know this sounds really bizarre, but I just feel like it needed something extra for everything to connect through. So I would recommend, but obviously just a few caveats on what didn't work well for me. So the next book I read was The Rose Bargain by Sasha Peyton Smith, and I gave this one 4.25 stars. So I was trying to curb my excitement for this one because I've only heard amazing things, but luckily I think it paid off this time. So for this one, we are set in the 1800s in England, and we are in the shoes of Ivy Benton. Now, in this world, each person has a bargain that they can ask for by the Queen. A lot of them, especially the women, they like to bargain things that will make them better for their suitors. So that could be maybe have better hair, or, you know, straighter teeth, whiter teeth, blah, blah, blah. Any qualities that they deem or that they are conscious about, they would like to change. And that is what a lot of the ladies do in this world. Now, This season, it's a little bit different because the Queen has said, actually, my son, the prince, he is going to get married. But the trick is, if any girls would like to be in the run-in to be the prince's wife, if they do not win, they are never going to find a husband at all within their entire life. Ivy, of course, decides to do just that. She decides to go for the run-in to try and get the prince's hand in marriage. And the reason for this is because there is a mystery going on within her family, in particular her sister. Her sister made a bargain previously, and since this bargain, she has never been the same girl again. So by being in the run-in, she thinks that she might be able to find out what her sister's bargain really was from the Queen. So I actually went into this not knowing too much about it. I read this synopsis and that was literally it, but actually the synopsis, I don't think it gives you a lot of what happens inside, which I very appreciate actually. So right from the get-go, again, I was hooked. I could not put it down. It is YA, so it does make it that little bit easier to read. I think it's YA, although, spoiler alert, again, skip 10 seconds, there is a very mild, spicy scene, which personally for me is a reason why it's not 5-star. I don't think it was needed. I think it did cheapen it out a bit, but I don't know, just to be mindful. I loved the concept of the bargains, and actually some of the bargains, they didn't take themselves too seriously. They were actually really funny. Like I think one of them, they couldn't turn right after their bargain. Someone lost their fingernails. Some of the bargains in here, they did actually really make me chuckle. Now, our characters, I absolutely loved our characters. I think they were fleshed out very well. Other than our main character, Ivy, I don't know. I found her a bit plain. I don't know. I think that is what the author was trying to get at, because it has been noticed, you know, that she's not the prettiest girl in, you know, the world and blah, blah, blah. But I just felt she lacked a bit of character. She lacked a bit of depth about her. And she's not a FMC that I think I would be rushing to remember. But I actually loved, and I mean loved with a capital L, the other girls that were in the run-in for Prince Bram's hand. I think they all had their own personality. They actually meshed so well together, and I just think it made for excellent reading. And actually there is kind of a little found family aspect as well in there, which again is another trope I absolutely love. Another thing why it wasn't a 5-star is because even though it does say it's set in England 1800s, I don't feel like I would have noticed that if it wasn't written on the blurb. You know, there wasn't much historical feeling about this book. I mean, yes, they're wearing puffy ball gowns and, you know, there'll be this odd thing that relates to like the 1800s, but I just wanted that historical feeling just a little bit more. And actually, I think that would have really bumped up the rating for me. But overall, I do think this is such an incredible, easy read, just a fun read as well. So fun. I did immediately go out and buy The Thorn Queen. Actually, I say that, it was a reward from my work. So thank you so much, work. We've got like this employee scheme and I did manage to get a book from it. And my choice was, of course, The Thorn Queen by Sasha Peyton Smith. So this is a duology. I do have the second one raring to go. I think I might try and put that in my July TBR. I don't know. I always say this and I never end up, but I'm so eager to like find out what happens. And I do think the way it ended, oh, that's another thing actually. The actual ending I think was very predictable. Again, I don't know if it's because it's YA that you kind of expected it. I don't know. But I do think the ending was very predictable. But on that note, I think it wrapped up nicely to start the second book, and I'm still intrigued to find out where that second book takes us. Overall, highly recommend, especially if you want something just easy, breezy and fun. Don't need to think too much about. This is one to put on your TBR. So the final book I read in May was The Lamb by Lucy Rose, and I gave this one 4.5 stars, but actually I'm still contemplating whether this should be a 5-star, because I finished this on the 1st of June. Yes, it's not technically May, but because it was in my May TBR, I'm just adding it as the books I've read in May. I mean, to be fair, I read this, I think, in 3 days, which says a lot about me. I don't normally read books that quick. Yes, it's not the thickest, but I was hooked. Like, I know I say that about a lot of books. It doesn't take me, because I read lots of genres, I get hooked quite easily, but I've rated this a 4.5. But I think the reason why I've docked it a little bit lower, I don't think is very fair on the book. So I think this could even potentially be a 5-star. I just don't know. I don't know whether to commit to that. But then every time I say 4.5, I feel like I'm not doing it justice. I mean, realistically, I should maybe say 4.75, but I just feel like 4.75 is quite a pointless rating. Is anyone else the same? It's either a 4.5 or a 5-star. But regardless, what have we got? This is, I think it's kind of based in the horror section. Like, it's classed as a horror, I think. But for this one, we have got Margot, and she is a little girl. This is kind of a coming of age story. And she's a little girl that is living in the woods with her mother. But the only thing about her mother is she's a cannibal. And therefore, that makes Margot a cannibal, but she doesn't know any different because she has been living that life all her life. And it's basically her coming of age story of how she deals with her mother, how she deals with this cannibalism. We also get a lot of characters floating in this book, but we get one prominent character called Eden who knocks on their door one day, and the mother thinks, actually, this is going to be our next meal. But it turns out she takes quite a shine to Eden and she becomes part of their family. Again, it's Margot navigating between her mum, this new person Eden. Is she part of the family? How does she feel about her? I don't think I'm doing this synopsis justice, but I think it's just the simple terms, a coming of age story of a little girl who is in the life of cannibalism. I mean, I think I sold it to myself with that sentence. Now, Margot, it's hard because you're reading a book about cannibalism, but I really felt sorry for Margot. I'm sorry. I know she's eating people, but she is only a little girl. I just had so many thoughts running through my head while I was reading this book. This book heavily deals with grief as well, and some of the parts of this book was written so beautifully. I know this sounds so weird because it's a book about cannibalism. I especially love Margot's relationships. I think her relationships are very innocent as such. I think she knows what she's doing is wrong. I mean, she's not doing it, it's her mother, right? Her mother is a cannibal. She's got that cannibalistic desire, and obviously she's following on, but I think she deep down knows that it's wrong, but at the same time she can't do anything because she's just a child. So she does make fellow relationships, and they might be a bit strange, and she doesn't really know how to act normal because her mother has always said don't attract attention, because obviously she's a cannibal. She doesn't want people knocking on her door. It made you feel isolated as well. I mean, it's set in the woods, you know, they just have this odd little house in the woods. I think every time you knew someone knocked on their door and you knew their fate, you felt sorry for them. Like, this is a book, they're not real characters. Like, it just gave so much emotion in various different ways. While this is, I think, technically classed as a horror, this felt more like a literary fiction with cannibalism. I know that that sounds so strange, but to me it read more like a literary fiction with depictions of horror subjects, you know, like with the cannibalism. And it is very graphic. It can be quite graphic. So I mean, you have to like horror as a genre to enjoy this book, but to me it just felt very raw because it had that literary fiction feeling. It wasn't like your typical horror story where every page you're kind of waiting for something to happen because it is a horror story, blah blah blah. This felt very raw, and the coming of age aspect of little Margot, again, it's just, I think what I'm realizing is I love coming of age stories. I think there's so much messaging, powerful messaging behind it, and, you know, lessons to be learned. And I think that's what I like in my books. It's given me, it's not the same. Like, before I say this, it's not the same, but obviously The Great Alone, which is my favourite book ever, is a coming of age story of little Lenny, and this gave me similar vibes, but take that with the smallest pinch of salt ever. But it's just that coming of age story, you know, there's struggles going on. You've got family members that are, you know, basically constricting them, and how they're going to find a way out of this. Actually, even thinking of the ending as well, I loved the ending. I think if anyone's read this book, they are thinking, wow, she's a weirdo. But I just loved how it ended. Actually, I think I'm going to boost this up to 5 stars. I love this book. The reason why I initially put it as a 4.5 was there was 2 kind of inconsistencies that I found with the book. And I am someone that nitpicks, like I get that. If you're someone that just reads a book for the vibes and whatnot, you won't even notice this. So that was the first thing. And I was thinking, actually, that goes against what was just said in, you know, in a previous chapter earlier in the book and whatnot. And also, I listened to this little bit on audio. Now, that is not the book's fault, but I do not get on with audio. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm really trying to be, you know, like an audiobook girly. I can't do it. Oh, sorry, I've not been holding the book. I can't really do it. I really struggle. I get distracted. I did actually put this on when I got into bed thinking, yeah, I love this book so much. I fell asleep. I fell asleep. That is not a reflection of the book. It's just audiobooks as a whole. I just don't get on with them. And I think that's what put my rating down just a smidge, because I found myself getting a little bit lost while I was listening to it. And then the moment I found that I was getting lost, I was like, no, because this is reflecting badly on the book. I'm going to go back to reading. And as I went back to reading, I found myself so much more involved in the story, wanting to know what happened. And actually, that was when it was getting really juicy near the end. So I don't think that's fair on this book, because I know how I get on with audio. I mean, I would recommend, obviously, you do have to like horror as a genre, but it does give a little bit of a feeling of literary fiction as well. So again, I think that is why I ate it up, because I love literary fiction. I mean, that is my favourite genre. Like I think I could read a literary fiction book back to back for the rest of my life and I would be absolutely happy. So yeah, I feel like this has been a really bad review, but I think once I love a book, I find it really hard to just explain that to you. So I'm just hoping you might listen and read this book and then come back to me and be like, oh my God, I love this book. Or even come back to me and say, oh my God, that was the worst book of my life. Because again, it's a very niche taste. We are dealing with cannibals. That might not be for everyone. I'm clearly just a weirdo. And that is a wrap on all the books that I have read during the month of May. I would love to know if you've read any of the books that I read. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with my ratings? I especially would love to know your thoughts on The Lamb. I would love to find, you know, fellow like-minded people that have the same opinion as me as The Lamb, and I would love to just talk about it. But regardless, if you did enjoy this video, it would mean so much to me if you could like and subscribe. I would love to have you. But on that note, I'm going to leave this one here and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.